I was standing near the dessert table at my brother Damien's engagement party when my father decided to humiliate me in front of nearly 500 guests. The ballroom was filled with powerful people. My father, Victor Rossi, loved these big, flashy events. He called me up on stage with a smile and said into the microphone, "Isabella, as a special gift to Sophia, you're going to give her your Malibu beach house. It's worth $2.4 million, and I think it's only fair that she gets it as a welcome into our family." The crowd clapped. Sophia, my brother's fiancée, gave me a smug smile. I felt my stomach drop. That beach house was the only thing my late mother had left me. It wasn't just property, it was my last connection to her. I stepped forward and said clearly, "Dad, I'm not giving away my house." His smile disappeared. He grabbed my arm tightly in front of everyone and said, "Don't embarrass me, Isabella. You will give her the house." When I still refused, he lost control. He grabbed a heavy camera tripod standing nearby and swung it at me. The metal leg hit me hard on the side of my head. I staggered backward and crashed into the corner of a table. Pain exploded in my head as I fell to the floor. The entire ballroom went silent. My father stood there breathing heavily, still holding the tripod. Instead of helping me, he said loudly, "Stop being so dramatic. It's just a small push." Blood started trickling down the side of my face. I was in shock, in pain. With shaking hands, I called my husband, Alexander. He picked up immediately. "Alina, what's wrong?" "Alexander," I said, my voice breaking. "Dad hit me with a tripod. I'm bleeding. Please come, right now." His voice turned ice cold. "I'm on my way." I stayed on the floor, holding my head while people around me whispered and stared. My brother Damien looked horrified but didn't move. My father was still standing there, trying to act like he did nothing wrong. 25 minutes later, the main doors of the ballroom opened. Alexander walked in with 4 police officers and 2 men in black suits behind him. The entire room froze. Alexander walked straight toward me, without looking at anyone else. When he saw the blood on the side of my head, his face turned cold and dangerous. He knelt down and gently touched my face. "Elena, are you okay?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded weakly. "He hit me with a tripod. I'm bleeding." Alexander stood up slowly and turned toward my father. The entire ballroom was watching in complete silence. "Victor," Alexander said in a calm but terrifying voice, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." My father tried to act confident. "Alexander, this is a family matter. Stay out of it." Alexander took one step closer. "No, Victor, this stopped being a family matter the second you laid your hands on my wife. You hit her with a metal tripod while she was 8 months pregnant, in front of 500 people. He then turned slightly and gestured toward the 2 men in black suits standing behind the police officers. "These gentlemen are from the Securities and Commission Exchange, and these officers are here to arrest you." My father's face went completely white. Alexander continued, "For the past 8 months, my team has been collecting evidence against you. Money laundering, tax evasion, illegal property transfers, everything. I was going to wait, but after what you did tonight, I decided there was no point in waiting anymore." He threw a thick folder on the table in front of my father. "This is just a small part of what we have on you." The police officers stepped forward. "Victor Rossi, you're under arrest for assault," one of them said as he pulled out handcuffs. My father started panicking. "You can't do this. This is my son's engagement party. You're ruining everything." Alexander looked at him with disgust. "You should have thought about that before you attacked my wife." As the officers handcuffed my father in front of everyone, the ballroom erupted into shocked whispers. My brother Damien looked completely stunned. Sophia was staring at the scene in horror. My father looked at me one last time as the officers dragged him away. "You did this," he said bitterly. "You and your husband destroyed this family." I looked at him and replied, "No, Dad. You destroyed it the moment you decided that money and power were more important than your own daughter." After my father was taken away, Alexander helped me up gently. "The ambulance is here," he said. "We need to go." As we were walking out, I stopped and looked back at the ballroom one last time. The same place where my father had tried to humiliate me just 30 minutes ago was now in complete chaos because of his own actions. Alexander looked at me and said, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you earlier, but I promise you, he will never be able to hurt you again." I leaned into him as we walked toward the ambulance. For the first time in years, I felt truly safe. My father had spent his whole life believing that money and power could control everyone around him. But in the end, it was his own cruelty that destroyed him, and my husband made sure of that. After my father was arrested and taken away from the ballroom, Alexander and I left for the hospital. I needed stitches for the cut on my head, but thankfully there were no serious injuries. While I was getting treated, Alexander stayed by my side the entire time. He didn't say much, but I could see the anger still burning in his eyes. The next morning, the news had already spread everywhere. My father's arrest at his own engagement party became the talk of the city. Business partners started pulling out of his company. Banks froze his accounts. Within 2 weeks, his entire business empire began collapsing. My brother Damien came to visit me at home a few days later. He looked ashamed and tired. "I didn't know Dad was involved in illegal things," he said quietly. "I swear, Isabella, I had no idea." I looked at him. "You may not have known about the illegal stuff, Damien, but you knew how he treated me. You stayed silent for years while he humiliated me. That's also a choice." Damien lowered his head. "I'm sorry," he said. "I was scared of going against him, but after what he did to you that night, I can't support him anymore. I've already told Mom and Sophia that I want nothing to do with Dad's mess." I nodded, but didn't say much. Trust takes time to rebuild. A month later, my father was formally charged with multiple counts of fraud, money laundering, and assault. Because of the strong evidence Alexander's team had collected, he had very little chance of winning the case. His lawyers advised him to take a plea deal. He lost almost everything: his company, his properties, and his reputation. The powerful man who once controlled everyone around him was now a shadow of his former self. One evening, Alexander and I were sitting on the balcony of our house when he said something that surprised me. "I spoke to your father today," he said. I looked at him in shock. "Why?" "He called me from jail. He wanted to talk to you, but I didn't let him. He asked me to tell you that he's sorry." I stayed quiet for a few seconds. "Do you believe him?" I asked. Alexander shook his head. "No. I think he's only sorry because he got caught and lost everything. But that's not real remorse." I nodded. "I don't want to see him," I said. "Not now. Maybe not ever." Alexander held my hand. "That's your decision, and I'll support it." A few weeks later, my brother Damien called me. He told me that our father had been sentenced to 7 years in prison. He also said that our mother had left the city and moved to another state, too ashamed to face anyone. For the first time in many years, I felt a strange sense of peace. My father had spent his entire life believing that money, power, and control were everything. He thought he could treat me however he wanted and still remain untouchable. But in the end, his own arrogance and cruelty became his downfall, and it was my husband who made sure of that. I no longer felt the need to prove myself to my family. I no longer cared about their approval or their opinions. I had built my own life with Alexander, and that was enough. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. And when that happens, you don't always get a happy family reunion. Sometimes the best ending is simply walking away and watching them face the consequences of their own actions.